Then please welcome your moderator for our Page to Screen panel, the producer and host of Gaze Reading Podcast. Give it up for Jason Blitman!
Hi. Ooh, thank you. So fun. Hi, everyone. I'm Jason Blitman, host and producer of the Gaze Reading Podcast. And I am, oh, thank you. But you're not here to see me. You are, oh, thank you. She is. All right, please welcome to the stage, May Cobb. Robinne Lee. Emily St. John Mandel. And Andy Weir. And Rachel Reed. Just kidding. Hi, everyone.
Hi.
Hello.
How's it going?
That was such a fun intro. Thank you. I really appreciate the pump-up music. I never get that. So, thank you.
No, pump-up music. Would you have chosen a different song?
No, that was perfect.
So perfect. Okay. Did you hear that echo? Okay, The most important question of the day. It is on everybody's mind. Andy Weir. Is Ryan Gosling as handsome in person?
I would say more. I'm straight, but we all have our limits.
This is what I'm saying.
Okay.
Oh my God. All right, well, that's it. Good show, everyone. Okay, this is a panel about adaptations. I'm curious. Everyone's just gonna keep applauding. We don't have to say anything.
Just say any noun. North Dakota!
Okay, what do we consider a successful adaptation? What does a successful adaptation mean to you, May?
I mean, personally, for my work, or just in general,
Yeah.
I feel like, we all know that there's going to be a lot of changes because there has to be to adapt to a new medium. So I feel like if something sticks to the spirit of the source material, that's successful.
Anyone else have a conflicting or perhaps different answer?
I would agree with May on that. I had my novel Station 11 adapted, and I remember, thank you. I remember how surreal it was when I saw that for the first time, which, because I was not deeply involved in the adaptation, was only about 2 months before everybody else saw it. And I was like, wow, they changed every single plot point, like every single one. But they did retain the spirit of the original, so it felt to me like a successful adaptation. On the other hand, if they'd retained the spirit of the original, but it was bad TV, I feel like it wouldn't have been. So maybe is it good and did they keep the spirit of it?
Yeah, well, that'll be interesting for us to go into the difference between TV and film. Right? Andy, you look like you had something to say.
Well, yeah, I mean, you're asking a bunch of writers what we think the most important aspect of a page-to-screen adaptation is. So we're going to skew heavily toward staying true to the source material because we made the source material. So, we have a tendency to define the adaptation in terms of how closely did you stay to my story and how much did you mess it up, right? So, I mean, we have our bias on this.
Yes, but I think when, as a reader, as a consumer, we don't necessarily, things might change that work, and we'll get to that too.
Well,
Robin, did you have anything to?
No.
Everything was pretty well covered.
No, I feel like you've addressed it all. I think
you just unmute, nothing on my end.
Right.
No, I think it's important to keep with the spirit of the book and to ideally, when you are creating something for the screen, whether it's a large or small screen, you are you are manufacturing something for a larger and wider audience, but ideally you're not going to alienate those who fell in love with the book. So there's got to be like it's like a balancing act of how can I be true to what the readers fell in love with and still create something that's going to appeal to a wide audience.
And be a different medium.
Yes, and different medium,
that's
for sure.
a real good point. It's a visual medium. It's not a direct narrative medium. There are things you can do in a visual medium that are very difficult to do in a narrative medium. I don't know about you guys, but I just really hate exposition. I mean, I think people, writers hate writing it and readers hate reading it. But if I need to explain what the room looks like to you, there's no other way for us to get that information across. In a movie, it's just, boop, there's the set, enjoy. And so they don't have to do that at all. Meanwhile, we have an infinite canvas. We can tell a story as slowly and as methodically and deliberately as we want. We can have different plots happen at different times, tie together at just the right time. Whereas in a movie, it's incredibly, claustrophobic. I don't know if any of you, pardon me for, I don't know all the things you guys have done, so I don't know if you've written screenplays as well, but I find myself just absolutely going, oh my God, I wish I could just assign the viewers some homework before they watch the movie so that I could really write this the way I want.
Be like, could you just read these cliff notes and then I'll fill it in? But,
Can you you have to read this, there'll be a quiz, then you're allowed in the movie.
Yeah. So I'm actually a working TV writer, in addition to writing novels. Partly because I love the medium, but also because this is really unglamorous, but income diversification for artists I think is really important. So I had a thought a few years ago, like, I don't think I want to put all the eggs in the literary fiction basket. That feels high risk. So I also work in TV and then I also write screenplays. I find personally, and I'd be curious to hear what my colleagues think, that television, I think, might be an easier form for adapting a novel. But I feel like maybe short stories go more easily into features because of the real estate issue,
Right. Well, TV, I think the infinite canvas of a television show or streaming show works well for adapting a novel. You look like you're...
For sure. I was going to say, because something like Station 11, it was a limited series, correct? And it took you on this journey, and there was time to unfold the different characters and different storylines, and in a way that you can't do in a film, which is 90 minutes, 2 hours, maybe 3 hours if you're with a A-list director. But it's a limited amount of time to unpack all these elements and nuances and subtleties, and a lot gets lost. So I do think the series is kind of it can be a better way to tell.
Well, sure, but then you have the flip side of, Station 11 is a little longer than novella-sized, and in order to spread it out over the course of 8 episodes or however many episodes it was, that I imagine is where a lot of the changes maybe stemmed from.
I think so, yeah. But also, like Andy was just talking about the things you can do on screen versus the page. And then you have the flip side of that, which is an amazing thing that I totally took for granted before I started doing screenwriting, is the way somebody's thoughts can occupy a page. Which, like, on the screen, that's just a guy. Like, there's nothing going on. Like, he has to be talking to somebody to get that across. So yeah, you end up seeing a lot more drama, a lot more, exploding cars or whatever, and just like more action, I think, in general, in screen adaptations for that reason.
Yeah. May, you just had a series. Did you have a similar experience with the expansion of the world?
Yeah. To be clear, I wasn't involved in the writing of it, but I did have like a ringside seat, and I got to I was on set a lot, and the creator and showrunner was very inclusive with having me around. So I got to watch her, and I was amazed at how many different elements had to be added in order to make it like a compelling 8-part series. Everything from new characters or characters that maybe I gave 2 paragraphs to in the book, like the husband that takes out the trash, is a full-blown, now he's running for governor. So that was really fascinating to see. Yeah, I don't even know if I answered the question, but it was really cool to see all the different things that were added.
Yeah.
It was like a master class for me, because I'm getting into screenwriting too, so it was cool.
Yeah. Emily was saying that she basically saw Station 11 right before we all did. What about the rest of you in terms of your experience, involvement, time on set, etc.? Robin?
I am one of the producers on the film of The Idea of You, but in actuality, I had nothing to do with the production.
I hear that a lot.
So maybe next time.
Did you spend time on set at all, or were you just
I
like,
did not.
I want to be far away?
I was across an ocean when they were filming.
Yeah.
So.
Yeah. Andy, what about you?
Well, I was a producer on Project Hail Mary, and I was actually like there doing things and making decisions. So
Yeah.
I do feel a certain amount of ownership for the movie, because I was there for the whole shoot. I was giving notes and feedback on the screenplay before that, and then after that, giving notes on the edits, and I saw all the cuts, and I've seen the movie so many times before it released that I was like done watching the movie. So yeah, I mean, definitely I was a very active participant, and so that feels good because I feel like I was one of a team that made this movie, which I think came out really well. So I'm very happy with it. Thank you.
Yeah, we can applaud.
Another thing I was going to say about just like writing in general versus television versus prose is like when you're writing a book, you're a dictator. You have absolute and total control over every single aspect of the story. Like then you find out that you're not as much of a dictator as you thought when you send your first draft to your editor. But you do have total control. And then, but in a writer's room, I've had my share of failed pilots and everything else. It's like you're part of a team. And what's funny is before I was a writer, I was a computer programmer, and I always used to work on a team, and I really enjoyed that. So I actually really enjoyed the process for writing for a TV show, working on a team, and that was really fun. But that show didn't get picked up, so
I've been there. Yeah.
Yeah, I think
Several times.
we've all been there. Everybody thinks it's like, once you're in, you're in. No, you still have to impress them. I'm like, hey, I'm Andy Weir. They're like, great, what's your idea? I'm like, here's my idea. They're like, that sucks. I'm like, but I'm Andy Weir. They're like, yeah, and that sucks.
See, I've had the opposite experience. I've been like, here's my idea. They were like, amazing, iconic, we have to make this. And then they passed the following morning. That's the Hollywood experience I've had.
Yeah, I skipped a few intermediate steps there. They're like, you get yesed to death in Hollywood. It's just like, yeah, you death by positive reinforcement. It's like, this is amazing, this is wonderful. I mean, we're not funding it. This is fantastic. This is incredible. We have to make this, except we're obviously not going to.
Yeah.
Well, so, talking about collaboration, writing is such a solitary thing. We were talking about this backstage, how there are so many of you, and I think it's very unlike us to be in a room with this many people ever. But when it comes to ownership of the world, of the story, right, it's something so inherently you. And I think the conversation started with talking about hoping that the essence of the book sort of stays the same. Not necessarily the essence, but what does it feel like to share with so many people? Because the book is yours. Of course, there's your editor and there are other people that are involved, but at the end of the day, the words on the page are yours. But in terms of the film, the television series, you have performers that are embodying the world that they feel ownership of. There's the director, there's the screenwriter, there's so many people that feel deep ownership of this thing that you created. What does the sharing feel like?
It's absolutely terrifying. So I came at this the reverse way. I'm an actress first. Thank you. And the beauty of acting is that it's a team effort. And if someone doesn't like the film or the TV show I've done, it's not just me. They don't like. It's the writer, the director, the producer, the wardrobe, everything that goes into making that production. But with a book, it's kind of like it's exposing yourself in a way that you don't usually do, in a way that I'd never done before, and it feels like you're letting people into your head and your heart, and so you feel very naked, and you're saying, hey, here I am, naked, judge me, like, and it's like a crippling fear. But I think when you go into that adaptation, suddenly other people are taking it over, and people are owning those characters and that part, and people judging the film, to me, doesn't feel like as personal. It doesn't feel like a judgment of my work.
Yeah.
Well, also, to be fair, by the time you get to the point where your work is being adapted to screen, the work itself must have done pretty well, right? Yes. It's like, there's not like, oh, I made a book and everyone thinks it's crap. Let's make a movie. Yeah. But yeah, I definitely feel, I think we all feel that way when you're writing a book. You're like, here you go. Yeah. And if everyone hates it, then that's just on me. No one's going to blame the editor, right? And so it's like the saying I like to say is like, give a man a book, you entertain him for a night. Teach a man to write, you give him crippling self-doubt for life.
Well, Andy, it's interesting you say that about the timeline, because I feel like we're seeing more and more announcements of adaptations sometimes a year before a book even comes out, right? So there's a lot of betting as well. I feel like Hunting Wives came out the second after the book came out. I don't know if that is actually true. It's certainly not true, but
It's not, but it wasn't terribly long though.
no,
Yeah.
right. So I guess for you, May, what was that experience like? It was almost segueing right into something versus years between a book and an adaptation.
Yes. We actually sold the TV rights when we sold publishing rights in 2019, but then we had the global pandemic. And then it also, and that sort of fell apart, and then it got sold to the current producer, Erwin Stoff, and that was in 2020. Then we had the writer's strike. So I got the phone call that it was going to be greenlit. Erwin called to tell me 2 days after the strike ended in 2023. And I think for Hollywood, that's pretty fast. And he was like, we're going to be shooting in a couple of months. And I was like, oh my God. So yeah, for me, I feel like it was pretty fast with all those different factors.
And remind us when the book came out?
2021. Yeah,
Okay, yeah.
2021,
Yeah.
sorry.
I know it feels so soon. I think there are people that don't have a cinematic imagination when they read. As you're reading, did you picture any of these things happening cinematically? Emily's enthusiastically nodding.
Yeah.
No, a question that I get a lot when I do events is whether the adaptation experience has changed my fiction writing. And when I think about it, I think I was always seeing it playing out like a movie. Like, I can absolutely see the scene as I'm writing it. That's just how I think. So, yeah, for me, I am picturing it. But I feel like all of our brains work differently where story is concerned, and not everybody does.
Yeah, I definitely picture my work cinematically as I'm writing it, but I'm not putting actors in the roles. Like, I'm not casting it in my head as I'm writing it, because I feel like then I would limit myself.
Yeah.
But I definitely am envisioning everything, and then also being an actor, I'm saying my dialogue out loud over and over again and seeing whether or not it flows correctly, if it sounds like natural speech. Like, so all those different aspects, I think, of being an actor and coming from the theater and film, I'm bringing into the writing of it.
Yeah, sure. I think that too, there's the difference between the cinematic imagination and seeing it as the film adaptation of your book, right? Yeah.
Absolutely.
I have so I'm kind of pretty far along the aphantasia scale, so which means I don't have a very visual imagination at all. So if I close my eyes and try to imagine an apple, I imagine sort of like almost like an icon of an apple, not like a detailed image. And so when I'm writing my stories, I couldn't tell you what the sets look like. I couldn't tell you what the people look like. Even for like Rocky, I defined his morphology, like, okay, he has a thorax and 5 legs and claws, but I couldn't have told you if his arms were like thick or thin or bumpy or smooth or anything like that. So it's all very vague in my mind. So I definitely don't get a very good visual image of it. And in terms of writing for, a question I get asked a lot, very similar to you, is are you writing with like a movie in mind? Like, are you writing your book with the intention of it eventually being a movie? And to that I say, like, I try really hard not to. Because when you're a novelist, your job is to write a book. And people who ask me for writing advice, I always say, like, if you've got an idea for a movie, don't write a book, write a screenplay. Just if you deliberately limit yourself to things that work well in a movie, you're going to make kind of a crappy book. So go ahead and use all the tools at your disposal that you can do in narrative fiction to take advantage of that. And then the other thing I want to touch on is what you were saying is how you say the lines. I do that too. For all of my characters, I say their dialogue out loud when I'm writing it. So anyone who watched me write would think I have schizophrenia, having these really angry arguments with myself, that my characters are having and stuff like that. So that's why, people are like, oh, what's your ideal writing environment? I'm like, I need to be where people can't hear me.
Yeah, and I do that. I do them in different accents too, so I sound
different
completely
accents too,
insane.
Yeah. Or like my attempt at a female voice and a male voice and stuff like that, and people are, I'm not. You'll never catch me writing at a Starbucks.
Well, I have a follow-up, Andy, but before I do, Robin, now I'm curious. Do you speak in different accents, sort of just to play around, and then all of a sudden you're like, oh wait, this character's actually British, and I only know that now?
Sometimes, yes. I had a really funny story. When I was writing The Idea of You, so Hayes is British, and he's this posh accent, and when I'm writing him, he's so in my head that I start thinking like him. And I had one evening, my husband came home from work, and I was talking to him like this, and I'm going on, and he said, "Why do you sound like a British man?" And I was like, "Do I? How did that happen?" So yeah.
Do I then? Sorry, old chap.
Old chap? No.
Oh, where's Dick Van Dyke when you need him? Andy, knowing that you don't have a cinematic imagination, what has it been like in the adaptation process, sort of seeing it come to life?
Well, it actually, that part of it ends up being kind of convenient for me, because most authors, when they see their work brought to screen, they have to deal with a cognitive disconnect between what was in their mind versus what shows up on the screen, whereas I didn't have anything in my mind anyway. So they showed me Rocky, and I'm like, cool. And then they're like, what do you mean cool? Tell us if it's, they brought me to the puppet shop, when on thing, they're like, here he is, here's Rocky, yay, here you go. I'm like, wow, that looks great. And they're like, well, does it look like what you imagined? I don't know. It's like, well, we really wanted this to look like what was in your mind. I'm like, yeah, that works. And it's like, does it deviate from what you had in your mind? I don't know. This is now retroactive canon, so it's perfect.
Would it not be easier to just lie?
Yeah, what's that?
Would it not be easier to just lie in that moment?
Yeah,
that is
like,
exactly the way I envisioned
you
that.
nailed it. Yeah. No, and earlier when they were making it, of course, they kept pinging me. They're like, what does Rocky look? Give us more detail about what Rocky looks like. Give us. I got nothing. So, it actually works out fine for me because I see it on screen and I'm like, oh, so that's what that looks like. That's cool. Now I know.
So we talked a little bit about...
We've always been at war with East Asia.
We talked a bit about the sort of expanding of Station 11 and Hunting Wives, but Robin and Andy, did you feel confined at all by the film medium?
I'm sorry, I thought you were asking one of them a question, and I zoned out. Once it stops being about me, I stop paying attention. No.
It's always about you. You're on a stage in front of a large audience. It's all about all of us.
I'm sorry.
So we have podcast, TV series, film, TV series, film.
Uh-huh.
We talked a little bit about TV series. For the films, did you feel confined by the space?
The runtime is a huge constraint.
Yeah.
Right? I mean, you have to really prune out anything that doesn't directly advance the plot or service a character or something like that. And so, fortunately, that's not my problem because I have Drew Goddard to do my adaptations for me for both The Martian and Project Hail Mary. So what I recommend is that anybody, if you're going to have your book made into a film, is get your own Drew Goddard. Maybe cloning, I don't know. But, and you can't have the normal one, that one's mine. But, no, but seriously, Drew, the way he approaches it is he says, okay, what's the core of the book? What are the most important things? Instead of figuring out what you can prune, he starts by making a white list of what has to be there. You know, so for PHM, for instance, he said, like, okay, the relationship between Ryland and Rocky is the principal plot. Anything that services that is absolutely critical. Other things we can get rid of to make room for those scenes. And so on. It's a real skill set and a real talent that I think I lack.
Yeah.
I'm not, I feel so claustrophobic writing screenplays.
Robin, did you have a similar emotional
Yeah,
feeling?
I think for sure if the idea of was a series, we would have been able to explore more of the storyline, the nuances, the subtleties, the art world, I think the tension between the two of them and the way the relationship kind of unfolded slowly. But it is what it is. Like, someone said to me very early on, like, once you have to look at your book as your baby, you are going to look at your book as your baby, but you have to look at any adaptation as kind of like a distant relative and stop thinking of it as your baby. So it's like the redheaded stepchild or the second cousin once removed. And that way you're allowed to like let go of it and let it breathe and let it exist in another medium and be at peace with it.
Yeah.
So that's what it is.
I guess that's another area where I got a little fortunate with my life experience in that, like, before I was a writer, I was a computer programmer. Like I said, I was used to working collaboratively on things. And I was also used to being told that there are a lot of things wrong. Like, here's a list of the 150 bugs that we found today, you know, and I've got to fix them. And so when I was going back and forth with my editor, I kind of saw them and felt them like bug reports. But the end result is I didn't feel this compulsive ownership of my work. So when it gets made into a movie and I see deviances, I don't get upset. I'm like, the movie people didn't go change the text in the copies of the books that are out there. You know, so I made the book, they made the movie. So I guess I'm good at drawing a line between that, coming from my history of software development, where it's like, okay, I wrote this part, other people wrote other parts. I don't know. I guess I just don't feel that, I don't know, grabby about my stories.
Grabby.
I don't know what's a good.
No, I think the lesson I learned with the last book is in writing this next one, I've kind of not been 100% wedded to anything, that I love it so much that if someone were to say, hey, let's just change this a little bit, that I couldn't be like, okay, that's fine. Which is really interesting because you want to obviously love your book and the final product enough to like put your name on it and put it out there, but you also want to kind of retain a little distance so that when the person adapting, it's like, this is great, but we're changing this character into a man and blah, 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 blah. There's some things that you'd be like, that's absolutely not possible, and some things like, okay, I could see that happening. And so I think you do have to kind of have this, you kind of have to trust that the adaptation is going to be something completely different, but good in its own
Yeah,
way.
I've never cared about, you know, for my stuff, I've never cared if they change a gender or an ethnicity or anything like that, unless it was somehow principal to the plot, unless their physicality was somehow important to the plot. So that stuff doesn't bother me at all. It's just when they change, like, core principles of the story. I guess I get, okay, so where I get precious is in my world building. If they say like, oh yeah, you put a lot, because I put a lot of work into my world building, and if they say like, oh, we're going to change all this and it's going to be completely different, it's the same story, it just takes place in like a setting that we've modified. I'll be like, yeah.
This person's going to have a British accent now.
Yeah. Yeah.
May and Emily, do you have feelings about some of the changes, about the letting go. Robin, I want your therapist number when we go backstage, because that letting go is, we all need it. Again, Emily enthusiastically nodding.
I feel like I'm almost like pathologically welcoming of changes in the adaptation process. May said something at the beginning about the necessity of changing a story to move from one medium to the other, and that's totally real. Also, you know, I've done a lot of time in writers' rooms at this point. I staff shows in addition to trying to get my own IP off the ground, and I really love that collaborative process of putting together a story. And it's made me see that there is an inherent limitation in writing a book because, you know, of course your editors will get a hold of it and you'll get those notes and you'll execute them, but fundamentally it's one brain working on this story. Whereas in the writer's room, you're building a world with other people. Everybody is narratively obsessed. It's really fun. And you get these kind of surprising, unusual sort of decisions that can change things in a really good way. So, you know, for example, in Station 11, in the series, the little girl goes home with Jeevan, the major character. God, I wish I'd thought of that. That's so smart, you know? So you can have moments like that where the adaptation might push it forward a little bit in one particular aspect. It's also never been clear to me that the version of the story I wrote is the best possible version of the story. So I agree with that principle of, you know, a slight detachment. Like, of course I stand behind it, and I put my heart and soul into it, and my name is on the spine. But could it be better?
Yeah, that's such great advice, I think, for aspiring writers out here. You all have such established careers, and being able to not be precious and to remember that other things will come, Andy.
That sparked a thought in me, but she was putting her mic up to her mouth, so I don't want to be the man who talks over the woman in a meeting.
I'll remember, and when stuff occurs to me, I don't always
remember. Okay. And I've got the memory of a goldfish, so let's do me first. You were talking about how, yeah, the thing you wrote might not be the best version of that thing. So what I have an opportunity, don't get all excited, not necessarily going to go anywhere, but like, you know, my memory hold, often forgotten other book is called Artemis. Okay, thank you. Thank you for people. And I was really proud of that book at the time I wrote it. I thought I did a fantastic job, but it was like, yeah. I mean, it made the bestseller list mostly because of name recognition, because it was the book after The Martian. But it just kind of like didn't go many places, or it didn't go so well. And now that PHM has done really well, now they're looking, they're going back and saying, well, maybe we should make a movie out of Artemis. They bought the film rights a long time ago, and they're like, well, maybe we will do this. And I'm excited by that prospect, but I was like, I have, in the intervening time, identified a bunch of problems in Artemis that I feel are places where I was like, the writing is weak, or the character development is weak, or the plots are like, I could have done this better, this didn't really land. And from having like literally millions of people give me feedback, I have like more of an idea of it. So now with the film, I'm going to give the directors and the people who are pitching it to studios, I'm going to give them a bullet point list of an alternate plot sequence for Artemis. And so I get a second bite at the apple, you know? So it's kind of cool that it's like, it's exactly like you said, once you accept that the thing you made isn't necessarily the best version of that story, it's like for me, I think I'm in an enviable position where I get to basically make editorial changes to a book that got published almost 10 years ago. And I can move that forward in the movie. And if people say like, oh, the movie made a bunch of changes from the book, know that it was me. 'Twas I.
That bite of the apple, though, you're not going to be able to imagine it.
I didn't hear it, sorry.
You're not going to be able to imagine that bite of the apple.
Yeah, that's true.
May, what were you going to say?
Oh, yeah. I think detachment is key, and I never feel like I'm writing the best version of any story I tell. So it was interesting when Rebecca Cutter, the showrunner creator of Hunting Wives, first got attached. She came to Texas, And the producer was like, I live in Austin, and he's like, don't just show her around Austin. You need to take her to your hometown up in East Texas where all this unhinged stuff in the book happened. And Rebecca, I picked her up in Dallas, me and my bestie did, and I was like, we were driving through the piney woods on some backcountry roads, and I could tell she was really nervous, but we really bonded, and she's like, you know what, I'm just gonna tell you my vision, and I'm changing the ending. And it was a really big change. And I don't want to spoil it for people who haven't read the book or seen the series, but show of hands for people who know what I'm talking about. Okay, cool. And my response to her was like, where were you when I was writing the book? This is so much better. And I genuinely felt that way. Like, yeah, it's a better version. It is probably why we're getting a season 2, because how she changed the ending, so.
Amazing. I'm still stuck on the backcountry roads in Texas and like shaking in my boots a little bit.
Come visit. I'll take you around.
Okay, all right.
You just watched Deliverance and now you're worried about being in the back row.
My podcast is called Gays Reading. It's not safe for me in the back roads.
I mean, I'm scared of Texas.
Okay, we got Q&A questions from the audience in advance. So I have a bunch of questions. So thank you all who submitted. They could have filled 2 hours of conversation. So for everybody, this is from Joanna. What scene were you most nervous for readers to see on screen?
Are we going to go in order?
Whoever is inspired.
Most nervous for me to see on screen. Well, the first contact scene with Rocky and Ryland. That we knew, everybody knew from the bottom to the top. Everybody knew that the movie was going to live or die on its presentation of Rocky, and so the introduction of actually seeing Rocky interacting with Ryland, that's what I was nervous about, because that had to land, and it did, and I'm happy. But like that's what I was most nervous about.
Anyone else?
I mean, every scene changed. So, right.
The ones between the beginning and ending.
Yeah,
Right,
yeah,
right.
exactly.
I've seen those, yeah.
Ditto. I think there was one scene from the book in the movie, and I was like, I remember this scene. So everything was going to be new for my readers.
Well, that's interesting too. That's in and of itself really interesting. Yeah.
I wasn't nervous. I'm like the biggest stage mom for the adaptation, so I was just excited because I got to see the series before it came out. So I'm just like, okay, y'all get ready.
That's really fun. Okay, from Christina. Andy, what scene do you wish had made it into the movie, and why is it Strat's courtroom scene?
Strat's courtroom scene is fun. That's not actually the answer that I'm going to give.
Sorry, Christina.
Sorry, Christina. Although that is a fun scene, I actually kind of wish that I hadn't put that scene in the book. I wish it didn't exist at all for a few reasons. First off, I got the courtroom procedures all wrong. And I'm real strong on science, but not really strong on law. And so I have had so many emails from lawyers and judges and stuff like that saying, yeah, that scene, you just completely screwed up everything about courtroom procedure. And so I was like, oh, okay. And then the other thing is, nobody really noticed, but it's a first-person story, and Ryland is not in that scene. So it's the only scene in the entire book that's just, for some reason, third person.
For some reason.
It's just,
I don't know how it got there.
I don't know how it got, that's really true. I don't know what the hell I was thinking. Anyway, I'm glad that didn't go into the movie. The scene that I really wish was in the movie, and we could have done it. I still maintain we could have done it. And Drew agreed with me, he wanted it, but was in the book, they nuke Antarctica.
You're not alone in feeling that.
Yeah, others agree. So for those who have seen the movie and haven't read the book or haven't seen either, basically within the context of the story, they wanted to, the Earth isn't getting enough sunlight. And so in the book, they said, like, we need to buy ourselves enough time for the Hail Mary mission to even have a chance. So we need to dramatically increase global warming to hold on to the heat energy that is coming into Earth. And so we need to release a lot of greenhouse gases into Earth, into the atmosphere right away. And so they nuke like an Antarctic ice shelf just with a bunch of nuclear bombs to detach it from Antarctica to make it fall into the ocean and then melt, and that'll release all the methane inside. And methane is a very powerful greenhouse gas and also breaks down after about 10 years, has a half-life of 10 years. So they're saying this will give us tremendous global warming for a short time, which is exactly what we want if we're trying to buy ourselves some time for Hail Mary. And what's a bummer to me is it wouldn't have even been that expensive because it would have been a pure CG shot. There's no comping in. You don't need to bring, actors into the scene or interacting with elements in the scene. Pure CG shot, and it probably would have added maybe 5 minutes or so to the runtime. Yeah. But it's a really long movie, and they didn't want to add 5 minutes to the runtime.
Yeah. I'm glad it didn't give anyone any ideas.
I want to nuke Antarctica. I'm mad that we didn't nuke Antarctica.
It's an interesting question. Does anybody else have a thought about something that they wish they'd seen on screen? May's like, nope. Full champion. Well, Robin, I think it's interesting. You were saying that there's only one scene really that remained from the book. If you had to pick another one, is there something where you're like, oh, I really wish it was this?
Yes, there's a scene that takes place between Hayes and Selene when they are in Miami, and they are having this heart-to-heart in the hotel room, and they are both realizing that the relationship has become much more profound than either of them believed it would become. And there's a moment he's crying and he's saying, like, are you afraid? And she admits that she is, and he says something to the fact that, well, I'm scared too, but oh my goodness. What does he say? But he goes, but I don't want to miss out on us because I was afraid.
Yeah.
He says. And when I was writing that scene as a fight scene, I kept thinking, oh, this is his audition scene, because it went through the full range of emotions of this one guy. And I was like, any actor who can pull this off gets a part. And that scene was not in the film. And I would have really loved to seen, like, Nicholas Galitzine, play that, because I think he has a range to have played those emotions.
It's a great answer. Emily, does anything come to mind for you? No? Great. Good answer.
Nothing on my end. You.
Okay. Debbie asks, do you have any souvenirs from set?
I have this really strange version of the Dr. 11 comic book, which, please don't get excited. I've been trying for years to get the thing off the ground. But, so it's written, but it's like it belongs to Paramount TV, which is owned by 12 different subsidiary. It's like a whole mess. But it's a big part of the TV series, this gorgeous graphic novel that the characters are always reading. The art, some of the art was created, most of it wasn't. So this book, it looks like a real book, but then you open it and there will be maybe 4 different images. And then the rest, it's a white page with black marks for the VFX team to put in comic book pages. So I have this kind of strange fake book. And then there's also a scene in one of the very final episodes where Kirsten is at the airport with the prophet and they perform a scene together. They're acting, and then one of them is carrying around a mug. I think it might be Kirsten, and I have the mug. It's from the Airplane movie.
So from The Martian, I have a clapper, the action, the synchronization clapper. So I have one of those.
Do you use it around the house?
It's mounted in a frame on the wall. And then from Project Hail Mary, I have some of the Xenonite tchotchkes that Rocky had made, that the model shop had made, and so when we were done filming, there was just all these weird little pieces of Xenonite, and so I took some of them home.
Based on the reaction, I think other people would also like to have them.
It's just 3D printed. You you can make it yourself. What they did was they would 3D print something that looked cool, and then they would send it off-site to a company that will basically put layer after layer of powdered metal on to it, and then heat it up until eventually it is metallic on the outside. So it's this process, but it's kind of neat. That's how they got the look of Xenonite.
Yeah. May or Robin?
Yeah, I have this really cool, there's a party scene in the pilot, and it's at this like fabulous mansion, and they had like actually napkins printed up with the characters or the Bankses with like a gold bee. So I have one of those, and then this really isn't an artifact, but I had a cameo. It didn't make the final cut, which I was glad about, because I belong behind the computer, not like in front of anything. And but I have the photograph of me, and I look like a country club person who's ready to like kill somebody. It's really funny. Like I have like a beehive and this gold jewelry on, and my mom was like, "You look fierce." I was like, "I know."
So you have like a set photograph of that?
Yeah. It's fun.
Yeah, I got nothing. I never went to the set. But I am an actress, and I was in the 50 Shades franchise. And I did swipe one of the fake roses from Christian and Anna's wedding, and so I still have that.
That's maybe better. That's a great, yeah.
I mean, there were thousands of roses on the set, but I remember thinking, I'll have this, and one day I can show my grandchildren that I was at Christian and Anna's wedding.
We won't tell anyone. Andy, it looked like you. Did you want to add something to your list?
No, I got the
Just a
Xenonite.
gesture.
No, what?
You were gesturing, so I wasn't sure.
Oh, no, I'm sorry.
It's okay.
I was not attempting.
I wanted to make sure if you had something to say that we gave you the time.
I'm sorry. I was enthralled by the stories. I was like, oh.
Yes. Okay, Taylor asks, was there something you were surprised to learn about in the process of adapting your books or watching the adaptation happen?
I have an answer. I was surprised at how difficult night scenes are to shoot. And so that was really interesting.
What's difficult about them?
It's just everyone has to stay up all night, and
You're tired.
Yeah, everyone's tired. And then also like how, and this all sounds really basic, but like how the weather can impact a shooting day. We were supposed to do, well, let me think. But anyway, yes, night scenes are harder because everyone has to stay up all night. I learned that. I was surprised. Because they're so much fun to watch, but they're not very much fun to shoot. Because you have to, it can sometimes take 3 days to shoot a single scene. So the whole crew up for 3 nights in a row, that's not that much fun.
I learned, so I after seeing them make The Martian, I had read the screenplay in advance, as Drew made it and given notes on it and stuff, and then later watched the movie. I was not involved in the production at all. I didn't even go to set. They shot it in Budapest, and I didn't want to go there. No offense to Budapest, I just don't like flying very much. I've gotten over that with the help of taking lots of drugs. They are prescribed. But anyway, so I kind of got some idea of how movie making works, right? What I didn't realize is that's just kind of only how movie making works when Ridley Scott is directing. Ridley Scott is one of the fastest directors ever. He comes in like under budget because he's like, okay, set up for the scene, everybody got your lines, okay, action, cut, move on. Like that's it. Like he very often he'll just use one take, he's happy, he's done. He came from a visual design background, he knows exactly what he wants it to look like, he's done. Chris and Phil, Chris Miller and Phil Lord, the directors of that, and Ryan are all much more freeform, and they're much more into ad-libbing. So when I watched them make Project Hail Mary, I was really surprised at how much the script is just sort of a vague suggestion. Right? They would go off script all the time. Ryan would go off script all the time. James Ortiz, who did the voice of Rocky, would play along. And I mean, they'd riff off of each other and stuff. And I would say that like maybe half of the movie is basically ad-libbed ad-libbed variations of what the script was telling them to say. So they'd get the feel of the scene across in about the correct amount of time, but they were not saying the words that were in the script. And I was really surprised by that. It was seeing the production of that made me realize how big a part of the creative, how much of the creative energy in a project comes just from the performers, from the actors. I pointed at you because you're an actor.
Thank you, I appreciate that.
And so that the actors are not just, they don't just read the lines and impart the correct emotion. They're actually kind of part of the creation of the story. And so that was a big learning experience for me. So that was kind of cool.
So Hollywood is incredibly opaque from the outside, just incomprehensible. So I knew nothing about it really when Station 11 came out, so everything was surprising. I just didn't really understand how it worked. But I've been working in television for the 4 or 5 years, whatever it's been, since then. And this is gonna sound kind of cynical, I don't know, but what I've come to realize is it's kind of a small miracle that anything gets made at all. Let alone that it's good. You would not believe the number of brilliant scripts I've read over the years, which will absolutely never see daylight. Not because they're bad, because some mysterious alchemy of people and money and executives and creative directions and corporate directives all come together at the same time. So I think that's given me a real appreciation for what a small miracle it is that when a good TV show comes to screen or when a good movie does.
And then you see the crappy shows and you're like, why did that get made? And
how
mine
did
didn't.
that guy get made? Yeah.
So I've worked in film and television for 3 decades, so there were no surprises, and I wasn't on the set to see anything surprising. But what I was surprised was the incredible, incredible job of the marketing team at Amazon, because there were Idea of You posters, signs everywhere, and I live in France now, and I had so many people calling me, friends texting me. There's a coffee shop in LA called La La Land. They had Idea of You drinks on the menu. They were on Whole Foods bags. They saturated the market in a way that was really extraordinary to see when they really believe in you, they can, when they believe in their product, they can put their energy behind it, and there's no better team out there. So hats off to Amazon.
Yeah, I'd have to agree with that. Amazon made, Project Hail Mary, and they did not mess around with the marketing. It's you can't walk 10 feet without seeing some sort of advertisement. It's
Well, now we're all going to get ads for both of those things. Okay, Kelly asks, and based on an earlier question, I feel like we might know the answer to this, but if you could keep control of just one thing in an adaptation, casting, script, a specific scene, what might you fight for the hardest?
I could answer this one. Something I've found startling, and this is pretty dark, is how incredibly openly racist executives are in Hollywood. So if there was one thing I could have total control of is casting. Yeah, I don't want every character to be white, and the way people default to that is frankly infuriating. So I think that's the one thing for me.
There are a lot of us. We should all send an email. You're not wrong. Thank you for that. Anyone else?
For me, it's a script.
Yeah,
I think it all starts from
give me a
script.
copycat on that and also say script. I mean, I want to solve racism, but I want script control more.
Ideally, the script is not racist.
Yeah. May, did you have anything to add?
I think I'm a music person, so I would love for someone to give that over to me. But I love the soundtrack of The Hunting Wives, but I feel I don't know, I'd love that would be the only thing I think for right now.
That's a fun answer. Very Austin of you.
Yeah, right?
Yeah.
I know.
Okay, in our 6 minutes and 7 seconds left, Joanna has a bit of a saucy question. What's the most common fan complaint about the adaptation of your book, And do you secretly agree with any of it? Joanna, show yourself. Oh my God, she's right there!
You guys, she's filming us. Just tread lightly through these next few minutes, is all I'm
Oh
saying.
my God, all right, we're just gonna sit in silence for 5 minutes and 30 seconds.
Well, this is so small that it's like almost a comedic answer. But the main complaint I've heard about The Martian is that there's this one gag from the book that didn't make it into The Martian, the movie. In the movie, Teddy Saunders, the director of NASA, is looking up and he's like, Mark's up there, he's all by himself, he thinks he's alone, he doesn't even know that we know he's alive. What does that do to a man? And in the movie, he says, Matt Damon switches to Matt Damon saying, I'm definitely going to die if I have to listen to any more disco, right? That's what happened in the movie. In the book, what happens is that exact line from the director of NASA happens, and then it switches over to Mark Watney making a log entry saying, how come Aquaman can control whales? They're mammals. Makes no sense. And that was the end of that whole scene. And it was just this very silly little joke, but people have said they had to put the book down because they were laughing so hard at that point. And that's actually the main complaint I get about The Martian. And if you're curious about the main complaint I get about PHM is that people complain sometimes, and I don't agree with them. I do agree with them on the Martian one, by the way. The main complaint I get is that the movie, they feel like runs a little long and it kind of suffers from Lord of the Rings ending syndrome where there's like, okay, the movie's over. Just kidding. Okay, now the movie's over. Well, not quite. Okay, now the movie's over. And people are like, you could have condensed that a little bit. Maybe they're right, but I like it. I like it the way it is. No.
Joanna and her crew
they
say
longer.
no, so.
They don't. I didn't say I agree with that critique.
Right.
I said that's the one that I've seen the most of.
Thank you for your honesty, Andy.
What's that?
Thank you for your honesty.
Yes, they think.
Anybody else?
They think. No, that's all I've got.
Fair.
Well, they were asking for the superlatives. What do I hear the most?
Yeah.
So.
Okay.
I mean, do any of these ladies want to answer?
Everyone shook their head.
Everyone
no.
just ducked that question. Just
That was a
stay
solid
in the pocket,
no.
duck and weave.
Right. If the cameras were in a yonder pouch, maybe. All right. Knowing what you know, being on this journey, paycheck aside, everyone likes when an artist is getting paid. Is it worth it? Would you do it again?
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah.
It's kind of extraordinary to imagine something and then see it.
Can you unpack that at all?
Yeah, absolutely. I spent weeks of my life trying to imagine what the caravans of the Traveling Symphony looked like. I was like Googling what is the weight of an extended bed Ford pickup truck with the wheels removed? How big do the wheels need to be pulled by horses? How many horses? I put so much energy into trying to visualize what seemed like kind of an abstract contraption. And then I FaceTimed with a showrunner one night, and he showed me a clip, and there were the caravans pulled by horses. And I got a little teary-eyed. It's the most incredible thing to pour your heart and soul into imagining something, and then actually just see it. Like it's kind of beautiful.
Thank you.
I absolute yes. It's kind of the same thing. I think we all have probably experienced that of just the amazement of seeing something that fell out of your brain, and then like 200 very talented people made it happen, to put it together onto screen. And so that's awesome. But I also just really like being able to walk onto a set and start eating from the craft service table. There's really something to be said for the environment of a filming of a film studio where everything is free. It's like the ultimate communist environment where everything you want something, yeah, just grab it. Yeah.
And the first thing I said was paycheck aside, so you're gonna need it.
Paycheck aside.
Yes.
Yeah, I'm gonna need it. If I'm not getting paid, I'm gonna be camped at that craft service table.
Exactly. Anyone else?
I think it's, it brings your work to a larger audience. And I think there are a lot of people who saw the movie and came back and read the book, and I totally welcome that. And I think there are a lot of issues in the story that I'd wanted to be part of the conversation about like this, how we view relationships with older women and younger men, and how we judge women in those situations. Whereas when we see relationships with older men and younger women, it's like it's something that's been in our media and for years and years and years, and so we don't question it. And I wanted that to be a larger discussion, and I think because of the movie, it became a larger discussion, and also became much more popular. There were a lot of movies that came out afterwards that kind of followed in that, like Baby Girl, and I forgot the other one that Nicole did with Zac Efron. I can't remember the name of it. But anyway, it made the conversation much more, I think, relevant and impactful, and I really appreciated that.
Yeah, I think hoping that people take the adaptation and run out to their independent bookstores and buy the book is a beautiful way to end the last conversation here at BookCon.
Thank you.
Andy Weir, Emily St. John Mandel, Robinne Lee, May Cobb. I'm Jason Blitman, host of Gaze Reading. Thank you all so much.
Thank you.